B'siyata d'shmaya, we're going to learn Shabbos Daf Kuf Lamed Hey. We're going to start on the last line of Daf Kuf Lamed Daled Omid Beis. Says the Gemara, Sofik v'adroigenus v'chulu. We saw in the Mishnah at the top of Daf Kuf Lamed Daled Omid Beis that a sofik, if there's a doubt, any type of doubt as to whether one is allowed to do the milah or if one is supposed to do the milah on this particular child, then we're going to see Ein Mechalin Alobas HaShabbos. You're not allowed to do the bris milah on Shabbos because you have a sofik. And you're not allowed to make a wound, which is a serious melacha on Shabbos, if there's a chance that you're not actually being mekayim the mitzvah of bris milah. V'adroigenus. Androgenous is somebody who unfortunately displays the organs both of a male and of a female. So he's a sofik zachar, sofik nekeva. And therefore, the Mishnah says that an androgenous, one is not allowed to do the milah of the androgenous on Shabbos. Rabbi Yehuda matir b'androgenous. Rabbi Yehuda says one is allowed to do the milah of an androgenous on Shabbos. Says the Gemara, Tonu Rabbanon. We're going to learn a brisa. Or lo soy. The pasuk says, "Uvayoy mashmini yimoil besar or lo soy." It must be his orlo. So the Gemara, the brisa learns orlo soy vaday. It has to be a definite orlo. It has to definitely have the status of an orlo, onto which there's a mitzvah and the chiyuv to do bris milah. And then doiche es haShabbos. If the orlo is vaday, if the mitzvah and the chiyuv of milah is certain, then it overrides Shabbos. V'lo sofik doiche es haShabbos. If it's only a doubt, if it's a sofik, if he has to do the mitzvah of milah, then we are not doiche Shabbos. You're not allowed to do the milah on Shabbos. What sofik is the Gemara talking about here? We don't know yet. But the brisa continues. Or lo soy vaday doiche es haShabbos. The or lo soy that tells us that you can only do the milah and override Shabbos when it's definite. V'loy androgenus doiche es haShabbos. But an androgenus, the brisa here is following the Tanakama in the Mishnah, that androgenus has the status of a sofik zachar, sofik nekeva, and therefore if it's a zachar there's a chiyuv of milah, if it's a nekeva there's no chiyuv of milah. Since it's a sofik, it's not doiche Shabbos. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, androgenus doiche es haShabbos ve'enoish korus. Rabbi Yehuda argues and says that the androgenous has the status of a zachar. If he doesn't do milah, he's going to be chayav korus, and therefore one is allowed to do the milah on Shabbos. Orlo soy vaday doiche es haShabbos v'loy noilad ben hashmoshos doiche es haShabbos. Another halacha the brisa tells us, if a child is born ben hashmoshos, it's a sofik, it's a doubt whether it was born during the day or whether it's already night. And irrespective of whether the baby was born bein hashmoshos just before Shabbos came in, or bein hashmoshos just as Shabbos was leaving, either way it's a sofik, whether Shabbos is actually the 8th day or not, and therefore you're not allowed to do the bris milah on Shabbos. In the event that it was a sofik on when Shabbos came in, then the following Shabbos is going to be a sofik day 8 or sofik day 9. If it's day 9, it's a milah shalei bizmanu, it's not doiche Shabbos. If the baby was born at the end of Shabbos, then the following Shabbos is going to be a sofik day 7, sofik day 8, and then it goes without saying that you cannot do the milah because it might be too early. Or lo soy vaday doiche es haShabbos. There's another case which is not a certain chiyuv milah, and therefore one is not allowed to do it on Shabbos, and that is when he's noilad kashehu mohul. And typically, what is the mitzvah of milah? That on the male organ, on the aver, as it's called, there's a piece of skin that covers over and goes beyond the head of the aver, and one has to cut off the part of the orlos skin that's beyond the aver, and the part of the skin that's covering the head of the aver, it gets bent back onto the body of the aver to reveal the head, and it gets bandaged down, and that's the way it stays permanently. Somebody who's noilad mohol means that the head of the aver seems to be exposed, and we cannot see any orlos skin. So it looks like he was born already mohul. However, there's a suffix whether the skin that looks to us like the head of the aver, is that really just orlos skin that's very firmly attached to the aver? Normally the orlos skin is loose and is not really attached to the aver, to the head of the aver. And this skin, it could be it is orlos skin, and there is a chiyuv to do some form of mila. We'll soon see what mila you can do, because you cannot remove this skin. But if it is orlos skin, you have to do something in the place of mila, or maybe no, there is no orlos skin. He's mohul, and there's no mitzvah of mila. It's a suffix. So the Brisa says if it's noilat kashu mohul, it does not override Shabbos. And the Brisa is going to bring a machlokes tanoim. Shebeis Shammai oimrim, Beis Shammai maintain, tzorich lehatif mimenu dam bris, that even during the week, a regular day, the 8th day, where this child was born, and you cannot determine, you cannot see any orlos skin, Beis Shammai say that we have to assume that either maybe or definitely it's going to be a discussion in the Gemara, but we assume that it could, or at least it could be that the skin you are seeing, the head of the aver, is actually orlos skin that's very firmly attached to the aver, and therefore there is a chiyuv of mila, but you cannot remove the orlos skin because it's attached. So what you have to do is you have to be lehatif mimenu dam bris, you have to cause a little bit of blood, they make a little scratch in the head of the aver to cause a drop of blood to come out, and that's in place of the mitzvah of the mila. That's on a regular weekday. Ubeis Hillel oimrim, Beis Hillel say eino tzorich. Beis Hillel say it was noilad mohul. There's no chiyuv of mila, and therefore there's no need to do hatofas dam bris. But either way, according to Beis Shammai, you have to do hatofas dam bris, and let's assume it's a suffix according to Beis Shammai, and since it's only a suffix if you have to do the hatofas dam bris or not, you cannot do it on Shabbos. According to Beis Hillel, let's say that even during the week you don't need to do anything, of course on Shabbos you don't do anything. And that is what the Tanna Kama, we don't understand it yet fully, we're going to soon see in the Gemara, but that's how the Tanna Kama seems to explain the machlokes of Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. Omer Reb Shimon ben Elazar, Reb Shimon ben Elazar, and this is a second opinion regarding the argument of Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. He says, Lo nechluku Beis Shammai u Beis Hillel al noilad kashuhu mol shetzorich lehatif mimenu dam bris. He maintains, Reb Shimon ben Elazar maintains, there's no argument that during the week, a child that's noilad mol, you have to do atofas dam bris, even according to Beis Hillel. And we'll soon see if you have to do this as a vadai or as a suffix, but everybody agrees you have to do atofas dam bris. Mipnei she'orlo kvushahi, because we assume that there is orlos skin, but somehow it's just concealed from us. Alman nechluku. What is the machlokes Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel? The machlokes is on a completely different case. Al gerushin is gayer kashuhu mol, where there's no chance in the world that the orlos skin is still there. Not like noilad mohul, where there's a chance that the orlos skin is there, just it's concealed from us. No, this is a goy that we know that there was orlos skin, the orlos skin's already been removed. And over here there's a machlokes, Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. Beis Shammai omrim tzorich lehatif mimenu dam bris. Once he becomes a Yisrael, he does a conversion, you have to do bris milah, since he was somebody that had an orla once. Beis Hillel omrim ein tzorich lehatif mimenu dam bris. Beis Hillel say the orla is no longer there, one does not have to do hatofas dam bris, and this is a sugya that we don't need to go into here. But either way, according to Reb Shimon ben Elazar, he says that both Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel agree that during the week you have to do hatofas dam bris. And this seems to be arguing with what we saw in the Tanna Kama that says that Beis Shammai say tzorich lehatif mimenu dam bris, and Beis Hillel say lo tzorich lehatif mimenu dam bris. And in the Tanna Kama we saw that according to everybody on Shabbos you do not do atofas dam bris, because that's what the Brisa is saying. The Brisa says v'loi noilat kashuhu mohul, which means that when it comes to overriding Shabbos, both Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel say that you do not do atofas dam bris, and the whole machlokes between them is only whether during the week you have to do atofas dam bris. Reb Shimon ben Elazar says that during the week they both agree that you have to do atofas dam bris, and Reb Shimon ben Elazar does not tell us what's going to be regarding Shabbos, and we'll see that in the Gemara soon. Continues the Gemara. Omar Mar. We're now going to first discuss the very beginning of the Brisa we just mentioned, that the Brisa brings a whole list of doubts, of sfeikas, that do not override Shabbos. We had androgynous, we had noilat bein hashmashos, we had noilat kashuhu mahul. But the Brisa started with saying, sofik, when you have a doubt. What doubt can you have that you've not mentioned explicitly in the Brisa? Omar Mar, v'lo sofik doiche es ha-Shabbos, la'asuye mai, what's that coming to include? Answers the Gemara, la'asuye ha-dutonu rabbanon. It's going to include a case we're about to mention now, and it's the case where it's a sofik whether this child was born after 7 months of pregnancy or in the 8th month of pregnancy. If it was born during the 7th month of pregnancy, then the child, we assume the child to survive, and there's a mitzvah of milah, a chiyuv of milah. If the child is born during the 8th month of pregnancy, we assume that he's not going to survive, and therefore there's no mitzvah of doing bris milah. And if there's no mitzvah of doing bris milah and you do bris milah, then at this point we assume that it's making a wound for no reason and it's asa. Let's see that inside. The Tanu Rabbanon, Ben Shiva Mechalin Olovis HaShabbos. A child that's born during the 7th month of pregnancy, we are Mechal Shabbos and we do bris milah. Uben Shmoino, if the child is born during the 8th month of pregnancy, Ein Mechalin Olovis HaShabbos, we do not override Shabbos to do the bris milah. Sofik Ben Sheva, Sofik Ben Shmoino, if we don't know, if we have a doubt, and this is the doubt the Brisa mentioned, we have a doubt whether it's in the 7th month of pregnancy or the 8th month of pregnancy, Ein Mechalin Olovis HaShabbos, because you have a doubt, you're not allowed to override Shabbos and do the bris milah. Ben Shmoino, a child that is born during the 8th month of pregnancy, Harehu Ke'even, we take it for granted and assume it's not going to survive, and therefore it has the same status as a stone, and it's muktzah. V'osa letaltalei, you're not allowed to move the child. Aval imoy shoiche umenikosoi. However, the mother is allowed to bend over this child in order to allow him to feed from her. Mipnei hasakona, because if she doesn't do it, it could pose a danger or at least a tremendous tsar, a pain and discomfort for the mother, and therefore she's allowed to bend over and allow the child to suck from her. But the child itself is muktzah, because we take it for granted this is a child that cannot and will not survive. Continues the Gemara. Itmar. Rav Omar Alocha Ketanekama. Rav says the halacha is like the Tanakama that we saw before. We're now going back to the machlokes Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel regarding noilad mohul, a child that one does not see any apparent orla skin. So Rav says the halacha is like the Tanakama. The Tanakama say that both Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel say that during the week you have to do that on Shabbos you do not do the milah if it's noilad mohul, and during the week according to Beis Shammai you have to do atofas dam bris, and according to Beis Hillel you do not need to do atofas dam bris. So Rav says the halacha is like the Tanakama that holds that way, and we always hold like Beis Hillel over Beis Shammai. So according to Rav, the halacha is during the week you don't need to do atofas dam bris, and of course on Shabbos you don't do a milah. Shmuel Omar, Shmuel says halacha is Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Shmuel says that halacha is like the second opinion that holds that even during the week Beis Hillel hold that you do atofas dam bris. They don't argue regarding during the week in Beis Shammai, but in Beis Hillel, according to the Tanakama, there's no atofas dam bris. According to Reb Shimon ben Elazar, there is atofas dam bris. Shmuel paskins like Reb Shimon ben Elazar that says that there is a chiyuv of atofas dam bris during the week. And we haven't discussed Shabbos yet, according to Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Continues the Gemara. Rav Ada bar Ava isyalit le'ahu yenuka kashahu mohul. Rav Ada bar Ava, his wife gave birth to a child that was noilad mohul. We couldn't see any orlo skin. Ahadre atleisa mohuli. The baby was born on Shabbos. The following Shabbos, he wanted to do the bris milah, and he went to 13 moyalim to look for somebody who was prepared to do hatofas dam bris, and nobody was prepared to do hatofas dam bris because you're not allowed to do hatofas dam bris on a noilad mohul on Shabbos. Ad the Shavye Krus Shavcha, he took the law in his own hands. He decided to do the hatofas dam bris himself, but since he was not an expert moil, he actually damaged the child. And the Yerushalmi discusses what happened next. The Yerushalmi says this child died very shortly afterwards, either because of Ada bar Ava davened that he should die, or because of the wounds that he had. Either way, the Yerushalmi discusses that. Omer, Rav Ada bar Ava said, "Tasili, I deserved this punishment. De Ovri Arav, because I went against the ruling of Rav." What did Rav say? Rav said the halacha was like the Tanakama. What did the Tanakama say? Tanakama said that according to Beis Hillel, during the week there's no hatofas dam bris, and even more so on Shabbos you don't do any hatofas dam bris. And I argued and I did hatofas dam bris on Shabbos, I was deserving of this punishment. Omale Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman commented to Rav Ada bar Ava, it sounds from what you, Rav Ada bar Ava, are saying, what you did hatofas dam bris, that it was only contrary to Rav, but according to Shmuel, it seemed that you were okay with that. Why? Va'ada Shmuel loy over? Do you think that you were conforming with what Shmuel said? Eimer de Omar Shmuel, when Shmuel said that there's no machloika, when Shmuel said that halacha was like Reb Shimon ben Elazar, and Reb Shimon ben Elazar said that there's no machloikas Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai, and they all agree during the week that you have to do hatofas dam bris. So he said, Eimer de Omar Shmuel b'chol. When did Shmuel, and namely Reb Shimon ben Elazar, say that you have to do hatofas dam bris on a noilad mol? Is during the week. The Tanakama said that according to Beis Hillel, you don't do hatofas dam bris even during the week. According to Reb Shimon ben Elazar, he says that Beis Hillel holds you do hatofas dam bris. However, that's only during the week. B'Shabbos mi Omer, but on Shabbos, you're not allowed to do hatofas dam bris, because the only reason that, according to Reb Shimon ben Elazar, he held that Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel say during the week you have to do hatofas dam bris, that's only misofik. It's a sofik. Is the orlo there? It's just kvusha. It's concealed from us. Or is there no orlo? So during the week you should be machmer and do hatofas dam bris. On Shabbos, misofik, even according to him you cannot do hatofas dam bris. So you, Rav Ada bar Ava, not only did you argue with Rav, you also argued with Shmuel. Vahu, but Rav Ada bar Ava, no. He says, I agree that I argued with Rav, I did not argue with Shmuel. Shmuel said that halacha is like Reb Shimon ben Elazar, and even though you hold, you Rav Nachman maintain that according to Reb Shimon ben Elazar, Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel only said you do hatofas dam bris during the week, misofik, and therefore on Shabbos there's no hatofas dam bris. I argue with that. I hold that the reason that you have to do hatofas dam bris during the week is because it's a vadai orla, it's a vadai that the orla is kvusha, it's just concealed from us, and therefore you definitely have to do hatofas dam bris, and therefore you can do it even on Shabbos. So I, Rav Ada bar Ava, I was following my opinion, which is my understanding in Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Let's see that inside. V'hu sovar vadai orlo kvushahi, and therefore, since it's vadai that the orlo is there during the week, you have to do milah, and you're even allowed to the milah, which is hatofas dam bris, and even on Shabbos you're allowed to do hatofas dam bris. Di'itmer, because there's actually a machlokas amiroim as to what Reb Shimon ben Elazar's opinion is regarding hatofas dam bris on Shabbos. Rabba Omar chayshinon shema orlo kvushahi. Rabba says it's a sofik. Maybe it's orlo kvusha, maybe not. Therefore, during the week you have to do hatofas dam bris. On Shabbos, not. Rav Yosef Omar vadai orlo kvusha. Rav Yosef says we take it for granted that it's definitely got orlo skin, just you cannot see it, and therefore even on Shabbos you can do hatofas dam bris. Omar Rav Yosef said, Minoa minelo. where do I have a source, a proof, that according to Reb Shimon ben Elazar, Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, who say that you have to do atofas dam bris during the week, it's vadai that you have to do atofas dam bris, it's vadai that there is orlo skin, just you can't see it, and not just a sofik. Rav Yosef says, I'll prove it to you. Because we actually have a third opinion regarding the machlokas Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. Rebbe Lezer HaKapor. This is the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer HaKapor. He said, Omer, lo yinechluku Beis Shammai u Beis Hillel al noilad kashu mol shetzorich lahatif mimenu dam bris. He agrees with Reb Shimon ben Elazar that both Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel say and hold that with noilad mohul you have to do atofas dam bris during the week. Al ma nechluku, what's Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel arguing? Nechluku lechalil olov es haShabbos. In Reb Shimon ben Elazar said that they're not arguing that you have to do atofas dam bris during the week, but they're arguing in something else. They're arguing by gerush and isgayer. Over here, Rebbe Lezer HaKapor says no. He says they're actually arguing on whether it's mechal Shabbos, whether the atofas dam bris is doiche Shabbos. Alma nechluku lechalil olov es haShabbos. Beis Shammai say mechalin olov es haShabbos. You're allowed to and you have to do the atofas dam bris on Shabbos. Beis Hillel oimrim ein mechalin olov es haShabbos. And Beis Hillel say no, you're not mechal Shabbos. According to Beis Hillel, it's obviously just a sofik whether you have to do atofas dam bris, and therefore during the week you have to do it, and on Shabbos you're not allowed to. Beis Shammai say during the week you have to do atofas dam bris because it's vadai got an orlo kvusha there, and therefore on Shabbos you have to do atofas dam bris. So the fact that Rebbe Eliezer HaKapor, he maintained that was the machlokas, then Lav Michlal, can we not assume the Tana Kama, the Tana before Rebbe Eliezer HaKapor, namely Reb Shimon ben Elazar, Sovar, Mechalin olov es haShabbos. Then we assume that according to Reb Shimon ben Elazar, they both agree, Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel say, as Rav Yosef says, that you are Mechalil es haShabbos, that you do atofas dam bris on Shabbos. And whereas Reb Shimon ben Elazar says that according to Beis Hillel, you do atofas dam bris, according to Rav Yosef we're talking about, you do atofas dam bris even on Shabbos. That was, according to Rav Yosef, that's Reb Shimon ben Elazar's opinion in Beis Hillel. And Rebbe Eliezer HaKapor is saying, no, in Beis Hillel I argue, and I hold that Beis Hillel say you're not allowed to do atofas dam bris on Shabbos. And that will be the machlokas. Asks the Gemara, no. V'dilma Tanakama, maybe Reb Shimon ben Elazar holds, not like Rav Yosef, but like Reb Nachman, Divrei Hakel ein mechalin ka'omar. Maybe according to Reb Shimon ben Elazar, Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel both hold that it's a sofik whether it's kvusha or not, and therefore they both hold you're not allowed to be mechal Shabbos and do that atofas dam bris. What's your proof from the Rebbe Eliezer HaKapor? All we know from Rebbe Eliezer HaKapor is that it's a machloikus Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel whether you do atofas dam bris on Shabbos. According to Reb Shimon ben Elazar, it's definitely not a machloikus. But what makes you think, like Rav Yosef says, that they both hold you do atofas dam bris, maybe they both hold you do not do atofas dam bris? Says the Gemara, no. Imkein Rebbe Eliezer HaKapor taima de Beis Shammai osel hashminon. In the event that Reb Shimon ben Elazar holds, not like Rav Yosef, like Rav Nachman, that both according to Beis Hillel and according to Beis Shammai, we do not do atofas dam bris. What's Rebbe Eliezer HaKapor coming to add? He's coming to say that Beis Hillel, I agree with you, that you do not do atofas dam bris on Shabbos. But Beis Shammai say you do atofas dam bris on Shabbos. Since when does a Tana add something on another Tana just to impress on us an opinion of Beis Shammai? When Beis Shammai argue with Beis Hillel, we more or less disregard what Beis Shammai say. It's not probable that all Rebbe Eliezer HaKapor is doing is telling us something in Beis Shammai. However, if, like Rav Yosef wanted to say, that according to Reb Shimon ben Elazar, both Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel say you do atofas dam bris, Rebbe Eliezer HaKapor is coming to say in Beis Hillel that you, Reb Shimon ben Elazar, say according to Beis Hillel you do atofas dam bris. I, Rebbe Eliezer HaKapor, argue and say that according to Beis Hillel you do not do atofas dam bris. Then he's telling us a halacha in Beis Hillel, And that makes a lot of sense. And that's what Rav Yosef is saying. I have proof from the fact that Rabbi Eliezer Kapor is arguing on, and the way he's arguing on Reb Shimon ben Elazar, I have proof that Reb Shimon ben Elazar held, like Rav Yosef said, that both Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai, they say you do hatofas dam bris on Shabbos. Says the Gemara, Dilma hochika omar, lo nechluku Beis Shammai Beis Hillel b'dovar zeh. The Gemara is now refuting that and saying, you Rav Yosef, you don't have any proof from Rabbi Eliezer Kapor that to what you wanted to say, that according to Reb Shimon ben Elazar, and Shmuel Paskin like Reb Shimon ben Elazar, that both Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai say you do hatofas dam bris. No. It could be that Rabbi Eliezer Kapor is in truth, he's telling us something about Beis Hillel. Even if you Rav Yosef are not right, even if the Rav Nachman is right that according to Reb Shimon ben Elazar, both Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai say you do not do hatofas dam bris, and Rabbi Eliezer Kapor says that according to Beis Hillel you don't do hatofas dam bris, according to Beis Shammai you do hatofas dam bris. Yes, but there's still something Rabbi Eliezer Kapor is teaching us that we've missed, and that is, let's remember that there's a very first opinion. What was the very first opinion, the Tanna Kama at the beginning in the Brisa? The very first opinion is that Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel are arguing even during the week. Reb Shimon ben Elazar and Rabbi Eliezer Kapor both say that there's no argument. Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel say during the week you have to do hatofas dam bris. But the very first Tanna Kama said no. According to Beis Shammai you do hatofas dam bris during the week. According to Beis Hillel you do not do hatofas dam bris during the week at all. And we say it's definitely not orlo kvusha. So Rabbi Eliezer Kapor is coming to say that I'm arguing with those Tanna Kama, and I'm saying that Beis Hillel say during the week that you do not do hatofas dam bris. Rabbi Eliezer Kapor is saying no. Beis Hillel agreed to Beis Shammai that you do hatofas dam bris during the week. Regarding Shabbos, that's where there's a machlokas, Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai. But regarding during the week, Rabbi Eliezer Kapor says Beis Hillel agrees to Beis Shammai that you do hatofas dam bris. That's what the Gemara means. Dilma hochik omar lo nechluku Beis Shammai u Beis Hillel b'dover zeh. That regarding during the week, Rabbi Eliezer Kapor is coming to impress on us. Don't say like the Tanna Kama said in the Brisa that according to Beis Hillel there's no hatofas dam bris. No. Beis Hillel do not argue with Beis Shammai on that, and you do hatofas dam bris. Regarding Shabbos, Rabbi Eliezer Kapor says there's a machlokas Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. The Beis Shammai say you do hatofas dam bris, Beis Hillel say you don't do hatofas dam bris. And then once Rabbi Eliezer Kapor is coming to teach us a contrast to the first Tanna Kama regarding during the week, then you have no indication whatsoever whether according to Reb Shimon ben Elazar, who only spoke about during the week, whether he holds that on Shabbos everybody agrees you do hatofas dam bris, as Rav Yosef wanted to say, or if everybody agrees you do not do hatofas dam bris, like Rav Nachman wanted to say. Continues the Gemara. Omar Reb Asi. Reb Asi is now telling us something, a new halacha, something very, very interesting. He's learning from a pasuk that kol she'imoy tmeo leida nimoy lishmoina. Any child who during the birth the mother had reason to become tomei, we'll soon see what that means. We know it's a pasuk in the Torah that if a typical Jewish woman that gives birth to a child, there is a tumas leida, she becomes tomei. So Rabbi Asi says that in the event that indeed this woman became tomei, then nimoy lishmoina, only that type of child, the mitzvah and the chiyuv of bris milah is when the child is 8 days old. V'chol she'ein imoy tmeo leida, if for whatever reason the mother does not become tomei tumas leida, ein nimoy lishmoina, then the chiyuv that the child can only do the bris milah, or we can only do the milah on the child on the 8th day, doesn't apply, and you can do the milah on the first day the child is born. Shenemar, he deduces this from the pasuk. The pasuk says, Isha kisazriya, a woman who conceives, v'yoldo zachar, she gave birth to a boy, v'tom'o v'gomer, and then she became tomei, and the pasuk continues, ubayoy mashmini yimil basaro losoi, you do the bris milah on this child on the 8th day. Rabbi Asi understood that wherever the v'tom'o didn't apply, then the shmoina yomim didn't apply, and you do milah even on the day the child is born. Omar le Abaye, Abaye says, I have a very basic refutation against what you say. Doiros harishonim, Who was the first one that got the mitzvah of bris milah? Avraham Avinu. When did the halachas of Tumah and Tahara start? Only much later, after we got the Torah. All those generations between Avraham Avinu and Matan Torah, none of them were practicing Tumah, at least not in a way that's mitzvah, in a way that's required. And nonetheless, the Pasuk says that you do bris milah on the 8th day. That's not according to what Rabbi Asi are saying. The mothers were not tomei, and nonetheless they did the bris milah on the 8th day. Omalei Rabbi Asi answered back to Abaya, Nitna Torah v'nischatsha halacha. You're right. When the Torah was given and the Tumah and Tahara started being practiced, at that point there was a chiddush that the bris milah is only done on the 8th day in the presence of the halachas of Tumah. A woman that's not Tumah, she's not restricted to the chiyuv of having to wait for the 8th day. Says the Gemara, Eini, I can bring you proof not like that. V'ha'itmar, yoytze doifen, a woman that gave birth with a caesarean section, a yoytze doifen, umi sheyesh lo shtei orlois, or somebody who either has 2 orlos skins or has 2 organs of the milah. Rav Huna v'Rav Chia barav, there was a machlekes. Chad omar mechalin oloves haShabbos. One holds that that the bris milah is doiche Shabbos. The Chad omar ein mechalin, and the other opinion holds that the bris milah is not doiche Shabbos, does not override Shabbos, because there's either different sfeikas here, a suffix which orlos skin, where to do the bris milah, or that it's a posuk, that it has to be a definite orla. However, the Achreinim discuss that here. Either way, there's a machlekas here whether yoytze doifen or mish yesh lo shtei orlos, is it doiche Shabbos or not. So the Gemara is saying, Ad kan nei pligi, the whole discussion was only elo lechal loves haShabbos. Does the milah of yoytze doifen or mish yesh lo shtei orlos, is it doiche Shabbos? Is it not doiche Shabbos? Aval lishmoina v'adai melinon lei. But there's no discussion as to when the earliest time to do the bris milah is. They all agree, they don't argue, that it's on the 8th day. And we have to remember, one of the cases of a woman that is not tomei, tumas leida, is yoytze doifen. A woman that gives birth with a caesarean section is not tumas leida, it's learnt out from psukim. And therefore, if Rabbi Asi is right, then the yoytze doifen does not have to wait for the 8th day at all. So why are we saying here that they're arguing, just the only discussion here is whether it's doiche Shabbos or not? Nobody suggested that it's not being, that the milah is allowed to be done before the 8th day. Says the Gemara, no. Ha b'ha talya. The very argument whether it's mechal Shabbos or not mechal Shabbos is in the same posuk that you learn that you're allowed to be doiche Shabbos, as we saw previously in the Perek, from Bayoim Hashmini. In that very same pasuk is where we learn that it has to be done on the 8th day, Bayoim Hashmini. So according to the opinion we just saw now, that yoytze doifen is not doiche Shabbos, it's not doiche Shabbos, and also it doesn't need to be done on the 8th day. It can be done before the 8th day. The opinion that says that it is doiche Shabbos holds that it has to be done on the 8th day. And therefore Rabbi Asi is following the opinion that says that it does not override Shabbos. If it doesn't override Shabbos, then it doesn't need to be b'shmini. It can even be before the Shmini. There are a number of challenges and complications in this Gemara, but we're going to keep it simple. We've explained the Gemara in the way that it's apparent in Rashi, and we're going to continue now. The Gemara says, Katanoi. The halacha we just saw from Rabbi Asi, what did Rabbi Asi say? Rabbi Asi said that a birth where the mother did not become tomei, the child is not restricted to the earliest time of the milah being 8 days, and one can do the milah even on the day the child was born. That was the halacha of Rabbi Asi. Ketanoi, the Gemara says it's machloikas tanoim. And we have to have a short introduction and then we'll understand the rest of this omid. There's a pasuk in Parshas Lech Lecha, when Hashem told Avraham Avinu about the mitzvah of bris milah, and the pasuk says, "Unamaltem es basaro laschem that you have to do the bris milah on your flesh. V'hoya la'ois bris beini uveinechem. Uben shmoinas yomim yimoy lochem kol zochor l'doiroseichem. On the 8th day after a boy is born, you have to do the bris milah. And it doesn't just say l'doiroseichem, you and all your future generations, all your descendants. It says yelid boys, all those that are born into your home, umiknas kesef mikoil ben neichor asheloi mizarachahu. If somehow you have boys in your homes that belong to you, either that are yelid boys, that are born into your home, or you bought the child, miknas kesef, then you have to do the bris milah on the 8th day. And then there's the next pasuk, himoil yimoil. You have to do the bris milah, yelid beischa, any child that's born into your home, or miknas kaspecha, any child that you bought with money. And in this second pasuk, it makes no mention of the 8th day. In the pasuk first it says, Uben shmoinas yomim, and it includes the Yelidei Boyis and the Miknas Kesef. In the next pasuk, it repeats the chiyuv of doing the bris milah, even if it's not your own children, if it's Yelid Beischa or Miknas Kaspecha, and does not mention the 8th day. And Rashi on the pasuk already points out why the pasuk doubles itself over, and why in the first pasuk it mentions the 8th day, and in the second pasuk it doesn't mention the 8th day. And Rashi very eloquently says, if you want to understand this, look in Shabbos Daf Kuf Lamed Hey Amud Beis, and you'll understand that. And that's the Gemara we're about to learn now. And just another short introduction. What's the difference between Miknas Kesef and Yelid Bayis? Yelid Bayis means that it was born in your home, which means that there was something, that means the mother. Let's start like this. The Yelid Bayis, the Miknas Kesef, is talking about when a person has a slave, an Eved Shifcho Knanis. It was a non-Jewish slave that now belongs to a Jewish owner. The halacha is that the Jewish owner has to commit himself, or he has to make sure that the maidservant, the Shifcha, goes to the mikvah and does a form of conversion, a type of gerus, and then she has all the halachas of a Shifcha Knanis that belongs to a Yisrael. Now, if this woman, if you have this Shifcha Knanis, and you've bought her, and she's yours, and now she conceives after she belongs to you already, that's called Yelid Bayis. She was already part of the household, and now she conceived and she became pregnant. Then the boy that's going to be born from this Shifcha Knanis is a boy that's called Yelid Bayis, and the owner has to do bris milah. However, there's a case where the owner actually buys the child, which in a regular circumstance that would mean that the Shifcha Knanis, this maid, she was already carrying the child, she was already pregnant before the owner bought the mother. And then when he buys the mother, he's buying the child as well. That's called Miknas Kesef. He's buying the child. Obviously, if the child is already born when the master buys the child, of course that's Miknas Kesef. But even if the child is not yet born, but the mother is already carrying the child, it's called Miknas Kesef. If the mother only conceives after she belongs to this owner, at that point, it's called Yelid Bayis. And there's one more word that we have to point out in the pasuk. Uben shmoinas yomim yimayil lochem kol zochor. That on who do you have to do bris milah on the 8th day? Lochem. It's got to be either you, meaning the typical Jewish mothers and the typical Yiddish boys, or that the Yelid Bayis or Miknas Kesef has to have some similarity to Lochem on some form or fashion. But if it's extremely not similar to Lochem, then the mitzvah of the requirement of Shmoinas Yomim doesn't apply. And even though the mitzvah of Milah does apply, it's not restricted to the 8th day. You can do it even before the 8th day. So what the Gemara is going to teach us is that there's a concept of Yelid Bayis and Miknas Kesef in either of those cases where the child will have to do the milah on the 8th day, not earlier, provided it's lochem. And then there's going to be another case where there's miknas kesef and yilid bayis, where the mitzvah of milah will be even on the first day the child is born, and that's why there's 2 psukim, and that's why in the first pasuk it mentions the 8th day, and in the second pasuk it doesn't, because we're going to have a certain scenarios where Yilid Bayis is on the 8th day and certain that it's on the certain scenarios on the first day, and so too regarding Miknas Kesef, we're going to see some scenarios where the Milah is done on the 8th day and some where it can be done on the first day. And through all this, we're somehow going to find the Machlokas Tanoim regarding the halacha of Reb Asi about a woman who does not become Tomei. Does the child have to wait till the 8th day? According to Reb Asi, the child doesn't have to wait till the 8th day. Now, till now we mentioned that the only woman that does not become Tomei, and therefore we said, and we did say that before, it's a machlokas, and therefore you do not need to wait till the 8th day, is Yotze Dofen, a woman who gave birth with a cesarean section. But there's obviously another case. A Shivcho Knanis, this maidservant who was non-Jewish, that was bought by a Jewish owner, till she does her conversion, she's still considered a goy. A goy doesn't have any tumah whatsoever. However, the child that's conceived and born from her, under most circumstances, you have to do the bris milah. But the mother will not become tomei if it's before the tvila, if she hasn't yet converted. And so we can already see somehow in this whole parasha of Miknas Kesef, Yilid Bayis, where the mother of this boy was once non-Jewish and is in the process of converting at some point, that we're going to again come across cases where the mother is not Tomei, but that because she's not Jewish, but the child nonetheless, because the child is either Yilid Bayis or Miknas Kesef, you have to do the bris milah, and there's going to be a discussion, does the bris milah have to be done on the 8th day and on, or can it even be done on the first day? Says the Gemara, Ketanoi, we're going to learn in a brisa. Yesh Yilid Bayis Shenimoil Le'echod. There is a case where it's Yilid Bayis. Yilid Bayis means that the mother of this boy already belonged to the owner before she conceived. That you do the bris milah le'echod, on the first day the child is born. V'yesh Yilid Bayis shenimoy l'shmeina. There's a case of Yilid Bayis that the woman, the mother, belonged to the master before she conceived, and then she conceived, and the child will do the bris milah on the 8th day, not on the first day. Yesh miknas kesef shenimoy le'echod. There's a case where a person buys the maidservant after she's already conceived, and the boy who's born, the bris milah can be done on the first day. V'yesh miknas kesef shenimoy l'shmeina. That the bris milah is done on the 8th day. And now the Gemara is going to explain. Yesh miknas kesef shenimoy le'echod. V'yesh miknas kesef shenimoy l'shmeina. Keitzad. The brisa is going to start with explaining the miknas kesef. Keitzad. What's the case? Lokach shivcha me'uberes. He bought this maid, this non-Jewish maid, the Shivcha Knanis. He bought her when she was already Me'uberes. That's why it's Miknas Kesef. We're talking about a boy that was bought, because the boy was already in the world. He had already been conceived before the owner bought him. V'achar kach yolda. After he bought this Shivcha Knanis, she gave birth. Zeu miknas kesef hanimoy l'shmeina. A typical case of miknas kesef, you bought a shivcha knanis, she was already pregnant, the baby's born, you do the bris milah on the 8th day. Lokach shivcha uvlodo ima. What happens if you bought the shivcha knanis after she already gave birth to the child? Zuhi miknas kesef shenimoy le'echod. And here the reason that you do not do milah on the 8th day is because it's totally not similar to lochem. With every lochem, when the child is born, then you have some relationship with the mother. Either that the mother belongs to you, or you're married to the mother, or whatever it is. Here, you bought the child after it was born. It happens to be you bought the mother as well. And we'll soon see that it doesn't even have to be that you necessarily bought the mother. It could be if you just bought the child. But either way, you bought the mother, you bought the child. It's very not similar to lochem, and therefore the milah does not have to be done on the 8th day. V'yesh yilid bayis shenimoy lishmoina. What's the case of a yilid bayis, which means that the mother belonged to you before she conceived, and you do milah on the 8th day? Ketzad lokach shivcha. You bought a shivcha knanis v'nis abro etzle, and she conceived after she belonged to you. V'yolda, and then she gave birth. Zeu yilid bayis. It was the child was first conceived after she was already part of your household, and therefore this is a boy that was born into your house, and it's nimoy lishmoina. There's no reason not to do the bris milah on the 8th day. And the Brisa does not tell us now what's the case of the yilid bayis, that you do the bris milah on the 1st day. And that was the opinion of the Tanna Kama. You'll notice that in the whole Tanna Kama, there's not a single mention of has the mother already done the tevilah or not before she gave birth. Irrespective of the yilid bayis case, irrespective of the miknas kesef case, all we've discussed so far is, was the shifcha, was the mother already yours before she conceived or not? But whether before she gave birth, whether she had gone to the mikveh or not, that wasn't discussed at all. And in the case of miknas kesef, the only time where there was a discussion about this was in the case where the mother had already given birth before you bought the mother, before you bought the child. There, obviously, when she gave birth to the child, of course, she didn't become Tomei. She was not yet, she was still a goy. She had all the halachas of a goy. But over there, the reason that you do milah on the 1st day and not on the 8th day, as far as we know, as we explained, it's just because it doesn't have the lochem. But there's no mention here of the fact that the mother did not become Tomei when she gave birth. Let's now see the opinion of Rav Choma. And this is a brisa, we're talking about Tanoim. It's very, very rare that a Tana is called Rav. Normally the Tanoim are called Rebbe. All the Chachomim that lived in Eretz Yisrael, which was typically all the Tanoim, were called Rebbe. The Chachomim, usually the Amoraim, when at the time of the Amoraim they were in Bavel, therefore they were called Rav. Rabbeinu Chananel here actually brings that there's only 3 cases of Tanoim that are called Rav, and this is one of them. Rav Choma Oimer. Rav Choma is now going to explain. Yolda va'achar kach hitbila. We're going now in the case of the yilid bayis. Yilid bayis means that she conceived after she became yours, which means the Jewish owner bought a shifcha knanis, and then she became pregnant, and then she gave birth. This child is called a yilid bayis. You have to do bris milah. At what point did the mother do tevilah? If she did tevilah before the birth, then she became tomei at the birth. If she didn't do tevilah before the birth, she did not become tomei at the birth. Says Rav Choma, Yolda v'achar kach hitbila. In the event that she only went to the mikveh after the birth, zeu yilid bayis shenimoy le'echod. Then even though it's yilid bayis, and she conceived after she became yours, she was owned by the Jewish owner, nonetheless, you don't do the milah on that. You don't have to wait for the 8th day, because since she had not yet done the tevilah, she does not become tomei. If she doesn't become tomei, you don't need to wait till the 8th day. And this is the Tana that holds like Rav Asi. In the event that this woman went to the mikveh and did the conversion before she gave birth, then that is the case of Zeu yilid bayis hanimoy lishmoina. That's the case of a yilid bayis hanimoy lishmoina. So whereas the Tanna Kama said that yilid bayis hanimoy lishmoina, he just says the woman belonged to the Jewish owner, she became pregnant, she gave birth, that's yilid bayis, it's nimoil on the 8th day. No mention of when she went to the mikveh. Rav Choma says no. It's only true if she became tomei at the birth. And that's only true, though that only happens if she went to the mikveh before the birth. In the case that she didn't go to the mikveh before the birth, then you do not need to wait for the 8th day. V'achar kach yolda ben yolda v'achar kach et bila. The Tanakama do not make this difference. So you see here clearly a machlokas tanoim, whether the fact that she wasn't Tomei at the birth, does that mean that the baby does not need to have the bris milah on the 8th day? Da'af al gav da'ein imoy tmea leida nimoy l'shmoin. According to Tanakama, even if she's not Tomei, she hasn't been to the mikveh, she's still a goy, nonetheless the child, the yelid bayis, is going to have to do the bris milah on the 8th day, not before, and this is not the Tanakama, not like Rav Asi. Omar Rava. Rava is now going to discuss this brisa. Bishleim le Reb Chama. According to Reb Chama that we just mentioned, mishkachas lo yelid bayis nimoy le'echod, yelid bayis nimoy le'shmoina. We've had a case of yelid bayis nimoy le'echod, yelid bayis nimoy le'shmoina, as we just saw now. It's called yelid bayis because she conceived after she was owned by the Yisrael, and if she did the tvila before the Leda, then it's nimoy le'shmoina, and if not, then it's nimoy le'echod. Miknas kesef nimoy le'echod, or miknas kesef nimoy le'shmoina. We also have a case in Rav Chama of miknas kesef nimoy le'echod, and miknas kesef nimoy le'shmoina, and we'll soon have to see what that is. Because in the brisa we only saw Rav Chama zone in on the Yelid Bayis. He didn't speak very much at all about the Miknas Kesef, and even in the Miknas Kesef we're going to have to decide what's happening here with the Tvila. Let's just recap. According to the Tanakama, what's called Miknas Kesef, which is Nimoy Lishmoina, it says that if the woman was pregnant before you bought her, and then the Yisrael bought her, and then she gave birth, it's Miknas Kesef. You bought the child because he was already been conceived before you bought her, and the Tanakama said that's the case of Nimoy Lishmoina. What happens if she hasn't been to the mikveh yet? It would seem that according to Rav Chama, that wouldn't be accurate. It would only be true if she's been to the mikveh already, and then she'll become Tomei, and therefore it'll be B'shmoina. If not, it will be Miknas Kesef, which is going to be Nimoy Le'echod. But let's see inside. Miknas kesef nimoy le'shmoina. Yolda v'achar kach hitbila. A case where she was bought by the owner before she conceived, and then she conceived, and then she gave birth, and only afterwards she went to the mikveh. Zeh yelid bayis shenimoy le'echod. This is a repetition. We saw this explicitly in Rav Chama inside the brisa. Hitbila v'achar kach yolda. In the case that she went to the mikveh before she gave birth, zeh yelid bayis shenimoy le'shmoina. There, the bris cannot be before the 8th day. Miknas kesef nimoy le'shmoina. What's the case? This is Rava explaining according to Rav Chama. We said Miknas Kesef means that the woman was already pregnant when she was bought. The owner bought a woman that was pregnant. V'heit bila, this is the extra word that the Tanakama didn't say, but according to Rav Chama we have to add this in because Rav Chama follows the halacha we know from Rabbi Asi that if she didn't become Tomei, one can do the bris milah before the 8th day. But if it's bila, if she went to the mikveh v'achar kach yolda and only then she gave birth, then miknas kesef is nimol. That's the case of the miknas kesef nimol lishmoina. Miknas kesef nimol le'echod is kagoin shelokach ze shivcha v'ze ubra. If you have a case, and we'll soon discuss why the Gemara chooses this case, but if you have a case where you had a shivcha and she had already given birth, as we saw in the Tanakama spoke about a case where lokach shivcha uvloda, if you bought the child with the mother. And over here Rav is explaining where the owner of the child did not actually buy the mother. The mother gave birth, and it doesn't matter. In Rashi says it could even be that she already belongs to a Yisrael. But either way, the mother was up for sale, the child was up for sale, and this owner only bought the child. If you only buy the child, it makes no difference whatsoever whether the mother was Tomei or wasn't Tomei. It's not lochem, because typical lochem is that you're the owner, the father of the child, and you have the mother. But to only have the child without the mother, that's extremely not lochem, and therefore you do not need to do the milah on the 8th day. And there's a whole discussion. Why didn't the Gemara here just bring the same case as the Tanakama brought, that if he bought the mother with the child after she gave birth, why do you have to take a case of buying the child without buying the mother? Alternatively, the Gemara Rava could have said in Reb Chama that we're talking about the same case as the Nimoy Lishmeina, where the woman was pregnant already, and then he bought her, and she hadn't gone to the mikveh before the birth, and therefore she's not going to be tummy. And then you'll have a case of miknas kesef, that's Nimoy Le'echod. So we have three different scenarios of according to Rav Chama, a case of miknas kesef nimoy le'echod. And our Gemara chose this one, the one we saw that they only bought the shifcha. But for the same token, it could have used the same case as the Tanakama, and it could have used the case of Yolda and only then hit Tvila, and Rashi discusses why the Gemara chose only this case, but all three are true. There's no machlokes in that. That means in any of these three scenarios that we mentioned is a case of miknas kesef nimoy le'echod according to Rav Chama, and the truth is that according to Tanakama, he agrees with these cases as well. According to Tanakama, if you bought just the child, the Tanakama will also agree it's miknas kesef, which is not lochem, and therefore nimoy le'echod. The only argument will be if you bought the mother, she was already pregnant, and then she gave birth, and she only went to the mikveh after she gave birth. That's where there's going to be a machlokas between the Tanakama and Rav Chama. According to the Tanakama, it makes no difference when she went to the mikveh, and it will be nimoy lishmoina. According to Rav Chama, it will only be nimoy lishmoina if she was toivel before the birth. If she was toivel after the birth, then it will be nimoy le'echod. Continues the Gemara. Elo Tanakama. So we've just explained all four cases according to Rav Chama. According to Tanakama, Bishloi Mekulhu Mishkachas Luhu. The Brisa told us what's miknas kesef nimoy lishmoina, what's miknas kesef nimoy le'echod, what's yilid bayis nimoy lishmoina. Elo yilid bayis nimoy le'echod heicha mishkachas lo. The Brisa didn't tell us what case do we have yilid bayis, which means that when you got the child, the mother was already yours before she conceived. The child was born into your property. And this nimoy le'echod, what's the case? So we know what the case is according to Rav Chama. According to Rav Chama, the case is when the mother became pregnant after you bought her, and she didn't go to mikveh before the birth, she didn't become tomei, so it's nimoy le'echod. But according to the Tanakama, they don't make any difference whether the mother became tomei or not. So what's the case of nimoy le'echod? Heicha mishkachas la. Omer Birmir says there's a case where it's going to be lacking in the lochem. It's not similar in any form or fashion to a typical child in a home, in a Jewish home. B'lekeach shivcha le'ubra. If the shivcha, you're buying the shivcha, but you're not buying the shivcha to own the shivcha, you're buying the shivcha in order to own the child. And this is a very broad topic of when you buy the essence of something, or when you only buy the part of the essence which is for its produce, for what it can provide. And you say, I'm buying you, but not for you, but for what you're providing. And that could be, for example, you can buy a tree, and obviously the fruits will belong to you. Unless there's some exclusion in the contract, but it will belong to you. But what happens when you buy the tree and you tell the person you're buying it from, I don't want to buy the tree, I only want to buy the tree for its fruits. I only want the fruits of the tree. So you have some ownership in the tree, but only in reference to the fruits, not in reference to itself. So here also, when somebody buys the shivcha from whoever, buys the shivcha but only le'ubra, which means the only part of the shivcha you have is the fact that when she's going to give birth to a child, the child is going to be yours. So on the one hand, since you bought this part of the mother before she conceived, it's called yilid bayis, it's not called miknas kesef. However, you don't actually have a share in the mother, in the essence of the mother. So therefore, it's not lochem, and since it's not lochem, you're nimol be'echod, not lishmoina. Says the Gemara, that makes sense. It's a big machlokas in other places in Shas, in many places in Nezikin, whether if you buy the kinyan, you make a kinyan, you acquire the peiros, the produce of something, then you do not actually own the essence of the body that's providing that produce. So if you say kinyan peiros is not kekinyan aguf, then we can understand you don't own the mother as her essence, and therefore it's not similar to lochem, and therefore it's nimoy le'echod. According to the opinion that says that if you have ownership in the produce, in what comes out of the essence that you're trying to be kaina, then you also have an integral kinyan in the essence itself, in the body providing itself. Then if so, you have a kinyan in the part of the mother. If you have a kinyan in the mother, then it is lochem. It should be nimay lishmoina. What are you going to say? Omer of Mesharshir says, I'll give you a different example. Another case. In all the cases we've had till now, there's a discussion, did she do the tefillah yet? Did she not do the tefillah yet? But according to everybody, owning a shifcha knanis requires also the shifcha knanis and also the owner to proceed to get to the tefillah. It's something she has to do at some point. And therefore, there's a whole discussion whether if she did the tefillah before the birth, after the birth, that's a local discussion, whether the fact that she didn't become tomei at the birth, how that affects the halachas of the milah of her child. But she's going to, if you own this shivcha, and she's going to do the tefillah at some point, then it's not such a contradiction to lochem, because at some point she's going to have the halachas of a Jewish person with tumah and all the other halachas of a Jewish woman, and therefore it's not a contradiction to lochem. But if you make a condition when you buy this shivcha, or if she makes the condition, I'm happy to be your maid, but I'm never ever going to convert, if so, this mother is never going to be Jewish in any way. The child is yelid bayis. But since the mother is not Jewish in any way and is not planning to become Jewish, the whole ownership of the mother is one which is never going to become Jewish in any way, then it's not any way similar to lochem, and in that case, the milah is not restricted. You don't have to wait till the 8th day. It can be nimoil le'echod. And in Mirz Hashem, in the next shir, we're going to continue from here.